into this kind of exercise, Femi?
Well, with the kind of partnership now they are having with the CBN and indeed the Air Force, we are expecting that, all of this will begin to reduce the cost of conducting election. That's on the part of INEC. Because for the Air Force also to provide logistics, it will also cost money on their part.
That's what it will cost Nigeria.
It will cost Nigerians money.
From our pockets. We ran one of the most expensive elections in the history of our country in 2023.
Well, I hold your thought. Abimbola Agbebiyi is joining us right now from Lagos. Hi, Bimbo. Good morning. Bimbo, can you hear me?
Good morning. Loud and clear.
All right, good. How are you? Just tell us, where are you? What's your location? Where in Lagos?
Yes, I'm presently at polling unit 23, Ward 009 on Eric Moore in the Ikmori area of Surulere.
All right, there. So tell us what's going on there. Has been the conduct of the election so far, the turnout of voters, the performance of the electoral officers, and all of that. Put it into perspective and let's get going.
All right, the exercise kicked off at exactly 8:30 a.m. at most of the polling units I visited this morning, and the process has been adjudged as peaceful and smooth. However, there's a low turnout of voters at most of the polling units I visited this morning. Don't forget that the Independent National Electoral Commission has said that no fewer than 121,111 voters, representing 86.3% of 140,377 registered voters, are being expected or were expected or are still being expected, because the exercise is still on at this election. But then, if you look at what we are seeing on the field, this is a complete departure from what we have seen so far. Most of the polling units I visited this morning, when you compare this data with what we have seen at most of the polling units we visited this morning. And many have attributed this to past experiences recorded at the last election, where violence reportedly broke out at some polling units, in Surulere. Some have also said that it is as a result of poor voter education. We also I overheard some of the residents of Surulere here saying that there's a meeting going on by Community Development Association in some of the houses in this area, and I begin to wonder, why would people hold meetings when they're expected to be out, to exercise their franchise? That was what we heard. But one thing that I have seen at most of the polling units I've visited this morning is there is low voter turnout. Yes,
well,
when you talk about security presence of.
Even looking behind you, we can also see, the electoral officers sitting idle, a clear indication of apathy, you may want to call it, or the low voter turnout.
Yes.
But it's almost midday and voting is expected to close at 2 p.m. Do you see a situation where there might be a rush and people will come out, line up to vote before voting will officially close at 2 p.m.? Do you envisage that?
All right, so of course, at some of the polling units I visited, I've heard some of the party agents, because of course we've actually been talking to party agents. We did not have voters to talk to. We only had one or two voters, who were willing to speak to us, as we do not have so many of them out, to vote. And a lot of people have expressed, high optimism that people will still come out to vote. But from what we have seen so far, just like you rightly mentioned behind me, we have just one voter there voting. And then so far, this is what we have seen at most of the polling units we have visited. We have seen INEC officials just sitting, waiting for voters to come out, where at some other places you have just 2-3 voters. We do not have queues this year. We understand this is a by-election, but then I want to believe every election is an election, and one would expect that people would troop out, in large numbers to exercise their franchise. But from what we have seen so far, we do not have queues at most of the polling units we visited. Rather, what we are seeing are a few persons coming in to exercise their franchise. Like you said, it may be too early in the day to conclude that people will not come out. And one interesting thing that I've also seen during this election is we've seen people come out to act as town criers, calling out to people to come out and vote. I mean, this is what people have decided to do, to mobilize people to come out and vote. You see women, coming out of their houses, who are volunteers, calling out people to come out and exercise their franchise. I mean, this This is that was an interesting sight to see. But so far, it's been calm in Surulere, and at most of the polling units we've visited, we've not experienced any rancor. Earlier, we had the opportunity to speak with the Assistant Commissioner of Police, talking about Mr. Gabriel Folorusho, who was also here to monitor the exercise, and he also adjudged the process has been smooth so far and peaceful. But so far, voter turnout is low at most of the polling units we visited. We hope to see more people come out as the clock ticks to 2 p.m.
Okay, Abimbola, you said so far it's been calm in Surulere. Is that because Surulere is one of the flashpoints when it comes to elections in Nigeria, especially in Lagos State? One of those volatile areas where we usually record violence and some other kind of malpractices during election. Is that why you said so far it's been calm?
Yes, because if you recall, in the last election, we had pockets of violence, breakout in some flashpoint, like I said, in some places in Surulere, and some people were actually expecting to see that happen today. But from what we have seen, contrary to what we experienced last time, we have seen a calm and peaceful atmosphere so far. Of course, aside from the fact that people are not out like we expected, the atmosphere is calm, the environment is peaceful. We've not recorded cases of violence or rancor at the places we visited.
Okay, how early did the electoral officers arrive at the polling units? And what's the security situation around, apart from those policemen we see at the polling units who are not armed? What's the general situation around Surulere? How are security agencies keeping the peace there?
Yes, unlike what we had in the past election, where we see late arrival of election materials, INEC, ad hoc officials were right on time. A lot of them got to their various polling units 8:05, 8:10, 8:15 a.m. But then the exercise did not kick off until 8:30, talking about having voters come in to vote. And in terms of security presence at most of the places we visited, coming into Surulere, like you know it, there's restriction of movement within this locality where the election is taking place, and then we have security officials at different points trying to ensure that people comply. But then I can tell you one interesting thing I saw earlier today is we had commercial buses who were still going about their normal businesses. Of course, some other people within Surulere area going about their normal businesses regardless of this no restriction of movement order. Yes, so talking about security presence, security officials on the ground, I said earlier that the Assistant Commissioner of Police was here to monitor, the process, and he, of course, said it's been smooth and peaceful so far. Femi.
Yeah, we can see security officers just chatting there, having a good time, no much work on their plate to do. But well, Bimbo, you said it appears motorists defied the order by the police restricting vehicular movement across Surulere. How is that impacting on the whole electoral process? Or is it just isolated from what is going on at the polling units?
Okay, so many have termed this as being a residents of the area being nonchalant, about what is going on. I mean, this is an election, and you would expect that people would want to come out and exercise their franchise. And then when you see commercial, bus drivers going about their normal businesses, a few shops opened, for business and all of that, you begin to wonder that why would people, want to flout this order when they're expected to come out and exercise their franchise. Of course, we should be able, this of course will have an impact on the outcome of the election. Yes, they are expected to come out and vote, but then they are going about their normal businesses. Of course, we can attribute this to the fact that a lot of them have decided to just stand aloof while the exercise goes on. So we wait to see what the outcome will be. We still have about an hour or two before the close of this exercise, so we hope that people will come out to, exercise their franchise, Femi.
All right, thanks, Abimbola Agbebiyi. Brilliant reporting as always. Well, coming back to the studio, we now have joining us Eze Nwagu. He is the chairman, Partners for Electoral Reforms, one of those prominent civil organizations involved in the advocacy